Thanks, y'all. Donna, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm gonna give this a whirl. If it's really hard for me to run this meeting from Zoom, I'm just gonna turn it over to Marty. I take it he's there. In fact, it is almost.
Marty is not
In spirit, he's here.
Well, how about this? Rick, can you run this meeting? I'll do my reports and stuff, but I can't see who's there trying to talk, raise
Yeah.
hands and stuff.
Marty will be here any minute.
Marty's walking through the
entering
door.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Marty. We're just talking about you, Marty.
Well,
Marty,
Right here.
I
I'm
have a bunch of homegrown lemons.
Nice.
Okay.
In a beautiful bag. So we can put it in
Marty, I think you're about to be tapped, my
there. Okay,
friend.
let's go.
Hey, Marty.
Good
I
morning.
always forget how awkward it is to run a meeting on Zoom. So first of all, thank you all for indulging me. My daughter who I never get to see is in town and I'm with her down in Monterey. So I appreciate this. Marty, do you think you can just, I have a few points to make and I'm happy to participate, but do you think you can just actually run the meeting? Because it's hard for me to see who's raising their hands and things like that.
Sure, of course.
There you go, man.
Happy to be here.
Great.
Absolutely.
Because good. If you weren't there, Rick was going to get the mantle. So,
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I'm ready.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
First roll of business would be a roll call.
Oh. Let's do the roll.
When I call your jurisdiction, if you'll please state your name. Atherton,
Rick DeGolia.
you Brisbane,
Colleen Mackin.
Burlingame,
Donna Colson.
Menlo Park,
Betsy Nash.
Millbrae,
Anderson.
San Bruno.
Marty Medina.
Thank you. We have a quorum.
Fantastic. Next order of business. Looking at any
Chair report, I believe.
chair report. Let's go to our
go
chair,
to-
Donna Colson.
Thank you. Yes. Sean, do you have a slide for me?
Let's see, hold on.
Yeah.
Clicker friends.
There we go. You put a
got the
slide,
clicker?
you guys, yes, you put a slide together. I appreciate this. So thank you all.
But we have not approved the minutes. Yeah.
Oh.
We have to. Can we go ahead and approve the minutes prior to?
Oh, okay. Go ahead and approve the minutes. Mhm.
Thank you.
Could I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Anders and Mackin.
Mhm.
Since we have somebody on remote, we have to do a roll call.
Correct.
All right.
Okay, Atherton,
Yes.
Brisbane,
Yes.
Burlingame,
Yes.
Menlo Park,
Yes.
Millbrae,
Yes.
San Bruno.
Do we need to read?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Great.
Have we invited public comment on anything not on the agenda?
Thank you for the reminder. Any public comment so far here in the room or remotely? Do we have anybody remote?
We do have remote participants, but I see no hands raised.
Okay, no hands up. So no public comment. Action to set the agenda.
Oh,
So-
We did.
Oh,
we did
sorry,
that.
my bad. Sorry for the,
That's done. Okay, now we're into.
here we are. Number 2, Chair. Chair
Okay.
Colson.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you. So just a few things. So first of all, we are just according to this slide, you can see, we're going to conduct just a standing committee evaluation. We want to work with staff to make sure that all of our board committees, we want to review their scope, their operations, their efficacy, are standing with the Brown Act to make sure that we're ensuring optimal functionality, value, service to the agency over the next 5 years. So this is sort of a forward-looking review. We're going to look first at the CAC Executive Committee Audit and Finance. We're going to benchmark against other CCA's best practices to see what people are doing. We may involve some brief surveys and interviews with people. Evaluation of the committees as units of PCE governance. We're not at all focusing on like the efficacy of any of the participants. all of our participants are doing a great job. They show up at all the meetings, they're really informed, they do great work. It's really just checking in with what the other groups are doing and making sure that we're getting the most comprehensive and effective and streamlined sort of work with our staff. They may result in some amendments to policy 16, which are board and committee operations. We really do need to work with our legal staff too, to make sure that, all of our committees are appropriate, whether they're ad hoc or Brown Act. So we're going to just take a look at that whole review that whole element. Board of Directors survey, we're recommending that we survey the full Board of Directors to receive feedback on board operations, staff service and support, suggested changes and improvements. And our last board survey was done in July of 2023. So it's been 2 years. And so this will give us a chance. We have a lot of new board members. So this will give us a chance to really, incorporate new and recent people into the conversation. We're going to start with an ad hoc committee. Myself and Marty as chair and vice chair, we've invited, these people have agreed to do this, Colleen Mackin, Leslie Ragsdale, and Craig Taylor, which was essentially the committee that started off thinking about the CAC and bringing on new people. So we're just kind of expanding the role and the sort of scope of what that work is. We will also then just be holding off on replacing the CAC members who have left. We feel that the group still runs effectively. We have a number of those people for a few more months. We can even extend if we want a term or two until we figure this all out. So we'll think about all that. I'll talk about all 3 things kind of on my agenda and then we can go back for comment. The second item I want to bring up is that we are forming our committee to do our CEO review. As you know, Sean's contract has a sort of July 1st is her annual review time. So we're going to put that together. Right now, that committee consists of the former chair, Rick DeGoya, Donna Colson, and Marty Medina. Always have had one of the supervisors involved. So I'm going to talk to Sean a little bit about that, but we may add on one of the supervisors, maybe Supervisor Gauchier, to that committee. And we're going to begin the work of doing her review so that we can get that done in a timely manner for her end of year and contract. That's 1. That's 2. Brianna or Nellie, did I have anything else? I think we've talked about, those are the 2 main things we're working on. Oh, another thing on that is we may do a board survey as well, or incorporated into this survey, a little bit of few questions around just the CEO and sort of how people are feeling about Sean and her role. So with that, those are the 2 main things that we're working on. I just open it up for questions. Public comment.
Do you have any questions in-house?
I just have one comment.
Sure.
The Kirsten and Vanessa, Donna, I think you're aware of this. They have here, I'm just gonna pass it around as just informational. This is for the CAC review, as Chair Colson has mentioned. This is research that was done in May of 2023 regarding the scope of the CAC and some of the practices from other CCAs. Depending on what you all decide you want to do, this information can be refreshed for purposes of this year's work. So just passing it out as information. Thank you.
Do we have any questions from the public online? Seeing none, moving on to item 3, the CEO report.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I have just a grab bag, literally, of different items spanning all the different things that we're to do. So I'll just run down these quickly. Bless you.
Thank you.
First is to let you know that Nick and team have been working on our insurance policy. He has recommended that we expand our cyber coverage to a $3 million coverage up from 2 million. The, we also, I believe there's a 6% just cost of inflation
Yeah.
increase overall.
Insurance costs have been.
Yeah. So we are gonna go ahead and increase that cyber coverage, just given everything that's going on in the world today.
Mhm.
For a total annual cost of 237,000. Because that falls underneath my signing authority, that won't go to the board, but just wanted to make you all aware of that we are on time with insurance and we are expanding coverage.
But that's the total cost, not the increase from 2 to 3, right?
Correct, that's right. That's the total annual
What
premium.
is the increase from 2 to 3 roughly?
Yeah, it's about 12% increase, so I think it's about,
35,000.
yeah.
30K.
Most of the increase was due to increasing the cyber coverage. Absent that, it was about as Sean said, I think a 6%.
Wait, the 237 is
And
just the cyber coverage or it's a total insurance?
Total insurance.
Oh. Is 3 million enough? For cyber? I mean, we've got 300 some million in the bank, right?
Yeah, we've done, I mean,
what we talked about, just briefly, when what Nick laid out was that there seems to be a range between 2 million and 5 million. Most CCAs, when we did our benchmarking, are coming in at about 3 right now. We can certainly increase it. It increases the cost by, I think it was an increased cost of about
30
12
grand
million,
or
yeah,
something.
30 grand. So we could check back on that if you like, if you think that's a good
Yeah.
idea to increase it further.
yeah, I mean, 2 to 3 was kind of the benchmarking, which is a data point, doesn't mean that's the right number. It's always hard to know exactly how much coverage to get. We've been at 2 million for a while. It seemed prudent to increase it to 3. We thought, we would give it a year maybe and see in a year if our peers moved higher, if the cyber insurance market got better. Maybe next year increase it to 5, kind of baby steps, but that was the thought process. No right or wrong answer.
I will say that commensurate with that, there's been a lot of work happening in our data and IT department to really bolster our IT protections and training and making sure that all of our systems and services are, you know, as protected as they can be. So that's been happening at the same time. If you want, we can come back to you with a higher coverage.
I would just echo what Rick said, just that all the cyber attacks coming from other countries, I think we want to be really bulletproof. All right.
And yeah, I mean, there's probably a whole discussion around that, right? How to best protect us. I mean, it's your business, not so much ours, but maybe we shouldn't be announcing how much cash we have. I mean, you know, we don't want to be a target, right?
One thing, we did have, a firm came in and gave us a couple of recommendations on our insurance coverage. One of which was to increase our cyber coverage from 2 to 3. The other recommendation was to remove that from our website. Because that's just a.
Our financials.
On our website, we have all of our insurance coverage right now, limits, and if someone sees cyber, they know what they can ransom us for.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Oh,
take that
interesting.
down, Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
That sounds, we need to be really smart about that or else we're gonna be a target, I think.
Okay. So what I'm hearing.
Yes, so that may not be a bad idea, moving that from the website, number one. Number two, I didn't quite get exactly how much the increase between 3 to 5 million is, but whatever that delta is. You know, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean, we're doing all the IT security stuff in-house right now.
Yes,
Whether or not it makes sense to have a professional consultant to look at that, if just throwing it out there, if we even thinking about increasing the cost of it, instead of thinking about the insurance policy, rather than perhaps having someone who is really, really like professional at this field to make sure that, you know,
To do an
to me,
audit?
that's more of an insurance
To
policy.
do like
than-
you're talking about like a data IT security audit type function? Is that what you're thinking about?
Something IT.
we,
cyber
Yeah,
I feel like
professional.
Kim did something.
yeah, we had a near issue, where we had a phishing attempt where we almost wired some funds to a third-party person. As a result of that, Kim, who heads up our IT department, ended up engaging a consultant who was going through I don't know if you call it an audit, but a review of all of our best practices, how do we house all our data, all that kind of stuff. We'll be making recommendations on things we could, you know, maybe everything's okay, but things we could probably improve.
I
So
would
that's it.
also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I would just also add that we do a triennial data audit in compliance with the commission decision from 2012 about our advanced meter infrastructure data and customer data. So that happens periodically, and I believe we just finished one of those as well.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is there's an opportunity to come back and inform you about all the different things that we're doing so that it's not just piecemeal here. That's a good awareness. There's an opportunity for us to look at what is the cost delta between a $3 million coverage and a $5 million coverage. I don't know if you have that.
We have that.
We
It's
can
like
go back.
about- I don't know exactly, it's 30 grand, maybe another 30 grand a year.
And if that feels like that's something you want to bring back to us, that would bump us into over 250,000, which is totally fine. We'll just bring it to the board for approval. If you feel like that's better coverage for us. Yes.
I'm very comfortable to go with management's recommendation on this. I think you guys are gonna look at it, but what I'm really concerned about is the level of cyber attacks that occur in general and the amount of money that we have. So I think you need to turn absolutely every stone. I'm glad this is coming up because we really haven't addressed it as directly in quite a long time. But it makes me worried.
So let's, with that, I think if it works for you, we'll agendize that and we'll talk about it and let you all know what we're up to, take some feedback. And I would say let's agendize that for our next executive committee.
I
Feels
see
like-
Donna's waving over there.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm raising hand. No, Rick, I'm really happy that you're bringing this up and supporting it. When we first started PCE, this was one of our biggest vulnerabilities. And I think we took care of it at the beginning, but I agree. This is, if there's going to be a problem with our organization, and this is the kind of thing that would take down like every CCA. Just government people aren't responsible, blah, blah, blah. So let's definitely make sure we get a report out to the board. And it could come to the executive committee first, Sean, if you want, just to vet it, and then we can put it up. And it could be a fall thing. This doesn't have to be tomorrow. We have a lot on our plate, but I do think making the public aware that we're very thoughtful about this is very strategic and important. Thank you, Rick, so much for standing
Great.
by that recommendation.
But here is what we need though, because we need to renew our insurance policy. So right now, we're at 3 million. We're recommending 3. If it is preferable, we can go to 5. It's not going to break the bank.
But we'd have to go to the board.
We would, but that's okay too.
But we got more exposure on this issue at the board than
Okay.
at the executive.
All right, then that's where we're at, is at 3 million at this annual premium.
I think we
With-
I would like to make a motion to approve the staff's recommendation now. And
We don't have to, no.
we
This
can.
isn't agendized yet as an action item.
Oh, okay,
This is
sorry.
just within the context of the CEO report, but we can certainly do that next time. And I wanted to offer as well, coming back with the county's benchmarks on cyber liability, which I believe are 5 million and 1 million per incident. So we can talk about that as well.
Okay,
Great, sorry, it's not an agendized item, sorry about that. Okay, we're clear though, and we will come back to you at the next meeting with some additional information.
Very
All
good.
right, next summer intern deadline is coming up tomorrow. So if you have any folks that you would like to recommend, please do so. Coming right around the corner, there are 4 internships posted on our website. I wanted to take a moment, I know Roy is. Yes.
Are you getting plenty of applications?
We are, okay, yeah,
2 minutes.
we're very lucky.
Got it.
Okay.
Yes.
It's competitive, it's great. Okay,
Let's
so Roy Zhu is on the line with us. Roy, I may ask you to chime in here, but I just wanted to let you all know that we've been working for months and months, a year perhaps, to get our Wright battery project to you for approval. We've been very, very close. We had originally planned to bring it to you in March, the March board meeting. With all of the tariff up and down, with question marks about the ITC, et cetera, the project developer and owner had not yet taken it to investment committee, so we had to defer to the April board meeting. It looks now like we're have to push that out to May. We are trying very hard to keep this project alive. But as you can imagine, the investment banks and the developers are taking a step back right now. And this is not just Right Best, this is happening across the industry with what's going on with all the different tariffs and the uncertainty that it's creating in the market. So Roy, do you want to add anything there? This is just for awareness for you all.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, as some of the board members have been briefed on, we've been trying to negotiate the contract with Stellar Renewable Energy to add an 80 megawatt 4-hour battery at the Wright Solar site, primarily to augment solar operation and reduce curtailment in the market and to help with meeting compliance. We had the storage contract pretty much finalized and just waiting for approvals on seller side, like Sean mentioned, before taking it to board in April. Tariff risk was contemplated in the agreement, but the magnitude of the tariff change on China last week was much more significant than anyone could have anticipated. And as a result, seller is not able to get updated firm pricing from its suppliers, which could in turn adjust our contract price. So they requested that we delay the approval until May, hoping that there'll be more clarity on the tariff. They still seemed committed to transacting on this project despite all these uncertainties, but there is a possibility that some of the commercial terms might have to be reopened in light of the high tariff. Since about 80 to 90% of the lithium iron phosphate batteries are all imported from China, Right Best is not the only project that has been impacted. Many of our ongoing negotiations with various solar plus storage projects are now in the holding mode as we wait for refresh pricing from developers to reflect the new tariff, which we all know could change again with no advance notice. So if this continues, it will make long-term procurement very challenging as the risk would be very high to lock in pricing in this moment for the next 10 to 20 years. So how would that impact PCE? Well, we're in a fairly decent position from a compliance standpoint, thanks to all the long-term contracts that we have signed and some of which have come online and others are expected to as soon as next year. In fact, our Chaparral solar plus storage project became fully operational 2 weeks ago, and that is a 102 megawatt solar plus 52 megawatt battery. So I want to take a moment here to applaud the staff who worked hard on this project and congratulate us all for this accomplishment. So as long as these contract projects can meet the expected schedule, we will be in good shape for the near term. However, if we're unable to continue signing new renewable projects under this adverse environment, we might need to revisit our internal 2030 goal again to balance against market reality. But it is still a little early to tell. We will continue to monitor the market, engage with developers, and report back to the board with any further updates.
Thank you, Roy. Any questions on that before I move on? Okay. The next is just a quick update. I received inquiries from a number of you around the table and online regarding AB 942. This is the bill, the solar bill that is looking at potential changes to the NEM 1 and NEM 2 structure. This is, I think, Shalini, I'll look to you. This is, I think, part of an affordability package that is really an area of focus right now in Sacramento. There are so many energy bills this year. We're just commenting this morning that it's an incredibly active legislative season. This one here potentially looks to roll back NEM 1 and NEM 2 credits to a 10-year benchmark rather than a 20-year benchmark. What this does is that it shifts existing subsidies that are being paid out for NEM 1 and NEM 2. Those were subsidies that were put in long ago to incentivize the market. That market no longer needs incentivizing. So as you know, now we have net billing tariff. NEM 3 it used to be called, but it's net billing tariff. We're adopting that when PG&E brings that online in April. But now, and I don't know if it's sponsored by the governor's office or where it's coming from, but bottom line is they're looking for changes in order to stop the cost shift onto folks who don't have solar. Here's why it really matters to us. Typically, we stay out of these legislative issues as we have in the past. The reason it matters to us is that we have Gov PV projects now under both, do we have any under NEM 1 or is it all NEM 2? All NEM 2. And NEM 2 is looking to shorten its benefit to 10 years. Our PPAs are 20 years. So we are looking right now at what the financial impact of what such a change would be. In light of what would it be on the current portfolio and what does it mean for any future portfolio? So don't know yet what we will come back and recommend, but just want to let you know that's what it is. And that's what we're up to track it. Any other comments on that? No?
Just a brief comment.
Yep.
Yeah, let me also note, worth noting that so many of our customers are solar customers. About 50,000 of them would then expect to receive fewer benefits in the out years on their systems. So it's not just, it wouldn't really be an effect felt by PCE, but more on the customer side.
I think the thing to compare this to is the costs that the IOUs incurred for renewable energy during that period where it was extremely expensive and they spent more than $100 a kilowatt hour to launch renewable projects, principally solar, but also some wind, before the CCAs became such a significant force. And we're paying for those costs, those sunk IOU costs, we're paying for them with the PCIA. And they had, the PUC had the opportunity to get rid of those costs when PG&E filed bankruptcy twice. And in both cases, they failed to get rid of those costs under the theory that PG&E had negotiated those costs, and the developers, of course, PG&E doesn't really care what they pay because they get reimbursed for what they pay. But the developers had negotiated that cost and were benefiting from those high prices that were incurred when those projects were launched. And now the PUC is looking to force those that participated in the Million Rooftops program that Schwarzenegger launched. They're looking to roll that back because of their whole theory around cost shift, but they're not addressing the PCIA costs that our customers are having to pay for. And I think that's totally wrong.
There is I agree, and there is a PCIA proceeding that's opening up
It's open now.
now. And there's track 2 of that, which is longer term PCIA reform. TBD, right? We've been down this road before, so
Sure have.
we'll just maybe leave it there. Thank you, Rick. Okay, let's finish because we got a lot to cover today. Just letting you all know, there was a request from Supervisor Spear to have a briefing on SB 540. That's the Western Pathways Bill that Senator Becker is sponsoring. So we went ahead and honored that request. There'll be a briefing. It is a discussion item. We have submitted our letter of support, as you all are aware. And then just really quickly, I wanted to let you know, we've talked about this before, but I'm letting you know that we're formally recognizing a new department for PCE. It is the Department of Innovation Strategy. I won't read every word here, but there's essentially 4 objectives. And I should say it's being led by Yana Kovacic-Lande, who's been with us, gosh, just about a little over a year now. Came to us from PCE and also years at PG&E and
Came from MCE. You said
MCE.
PC.
MCE to PCE from PG&E. Correct. Say that 10 times fast. We're delighted to have you, Yana. Yana's essentially already been doing this, but we're just making it formal now.
Good.
So she's working with us on organizational strategy, been very involved in strategic plan, as you know. Her department of 1, almost 2, will support PCE's early stage investigation and initial implementation of advanced energy projects that require cross-departmental coordination. So it's not everything that we work on cross-departmentally. It's really focused on new energy technologies, and in particular, distributed energy resource, which she and Peter will be talking about shortly. Yana's already done amazing work for us in the area of revenue diversification, really focusing on how we support our programs without necessarily spending all of our revenue, our ratepayer revenue on those programs. So really going after grant funding and state money. And then offering subject matter expertise in the policy arena and in the regulatory commission regarding DERs, other advanced energy, et cetera. So she's been a huge boost to our team and happy to say that Yana will be running that department. So if there are no further questions, I can wrap up and we will go back to Vice Chair Medina.
Any comments, questions? Nobody?
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. Discussion one, phase one of the Peninsula Clean Energy 2026-2030 strategic planning process.
Good,
Sure.
thank you. Thanks very much, everybody. We can go ahead and skip the slide, go to the next slide. Oh, or I can.
Is that what you want?
Yeah, let's go to this one. So
You can drive.
We've got about 25 minutes.
I'll go.
20.
Thank you. Thank you for the time check.
Sorry.
So, no, it's good. So, the starting point with this is, as a reminder that we had phase one and phase two of this process. And we kind of were driving in January to finish phase one. And for a variety of reasons, including new board members coming on and including, a recognition that there were some things, kind of pieces missing. We made a decision to extend this phase one part of the project. And so just to recognize, this is what you see on the screen now. That is the overall structure that we are now looking at for this final strategic plan. And we are driving towards an October approval date now for a final full strategic plan. So that green area in the middle is what we worked on last fall, those strategic policies. We focused on those because they represented areas where the board could provide really good specific direction and decisions to guide the organization in making a number of decisions and kind of setting the tone for how staff could move forward. So those were important. We're going to talk about those briefly, but we realized something was missing up above it there, the guiding principles. There was just something about not having bigger picture, I might call it organizational strategy, like what are we about? How do we do our work in a big picture way? That felt like it was really missing. The policies didn't quite get at that. They answered good questions, but they didn't get at the bigger picture. And so we have done work to add those guiding principles. And then it had always been kind of simmering this question of, do we need to update the mission and vision? And so we went up that level also. So I just went backwards there. So that is kind of what we are focused on. Those two things are being added. You will also see a fourth strategic policy that was not included last fall. And I'm going to talk about that in a little bit. So this is a new structure. We are looking to get board input into those first three levels in May. We've already run this through the ad hoc committee. And Director DeGoya, we have not put your input into this yet. You sent some great input, which will be worked in, so you won't see that reflected yet. So we've run this through the ad hoc committee. And we're also going to be meeting with the CAC Strategic Planning Committee, and we're meeting with the executive committee. We will update what was sent to you in the packet in advance of the May board conversation. And then it will kind of simmer from the board's perspective. Over the summer, staff will work on the agency goals and the objectives and key results. So we can return in the fall with a full package. And just a reminder, agency goals and objectives and key results, good practice is that those are really staff driven. Those move into what does staff do to carry out the policy that you adopt. But it must be that they must be adopted in conversation with the board. But they should be staff driven, more mission, vision, guiding principles, and these strategic policies. Those should really be board driven as they have been, but obviously with huge amount of staff participation and engagement. So any questions on this structure? I've taken a little extra of my 20 or 25 minute time because this is a really important overall framework and we want to make sure that it makes sense for folks.
I think a number of folks have seen it.
Yeah,
You guys are
a
probably.
few folks have here, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and you can interrupt me anytime. I just want to go through a little bit of this. However, I think we want to start, is Gwen on the phone? And did Gwen want to talk to the mission and vision?
But it's not on the line, which means Nelly.
I don't think she was planning to do.
So Nellie's gonna do this, okay.
Great, Nelly.
You want me to keep the
She
control?
remembers a little bit about how we were supposed to do this. Give me 2 seconds. You wanna kick us off one slide while I pull up what I need here real quick? 1 moment.
And Nellie, I'm happy to run through this too, if that's helpful for you. It's your call. Happy to have you do it.
Because it has to be quick, sorry.
I'll just, I'll wing it there. Okay, so mission and vision for PCE, and looking to update those, to be more articulate, to provide more impact. The mission, as you can see, from Gwen's beautiful slides, the what and why of PCE, really resonates with customers, whereas the future kind of defines what we're working for, working towards the vision that we're having for, you know, the world going forward. It aligns our stakeholders around long-term impact, and the vision, if I recall, the mission is for the heart of PCE and the vision is more broad. So our current mission statement is to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by expanding access to sustainable and affordable energy solutions. And what we've put together are some straw men proposals. They were have run through a bit of senior staff, identifying words and phrases that we liked. One of our consultants, escaping the name for me right now, put some magic into it. And so we've got some straw man proposals that are not in complete final form. There will be a survey, I believe at the end of the slide, but if not, I will send it out to you all.
At the end
So
of this
that,
slide.
I thought so. So that we can get your impact or your, not your impact.
Input.
Get your input, thank you, for what you like, what phrases you like, which pieces of this you like. So look for that. So we'll run through the 3 straw men. The opportunities that we see with our current mission is more of a focus on the impact is needed, adding adaptability, innovation, climate resilience, trying to make it more PCE. Right now, it's rather generic. And then reflecting customer centricity, as that's become something that is, you know, very important to PCE, having that reflected in our mission, equity, affordability, et cetera. So here are the 3 strongman proposals. Mission proposal A, PCE is leading the way to a carbon-free future by delivering innovative and affordable clean energy solutions, supporting equitable community growth and driving environmental progress. Mission option B, we unleash the potential of clean energy, transforming it into a power that uplifts every neighborhood. We are committed to ensuring everyone benefits from a healthier, more sustainable, and economically vibrant future. And option C, PCE delivers affordable, clean electricity and supports local solutions that lower costs, reduce pollution, and strengthen community resilience.
And all of these options are in your memo today if you want to read them in more depth. So
Right. Similarly, our vision is a sustainable world with clean energy for everyone. And opportunities identified to evolve this would to emphasize the leadership and innovation from PCE, highlight equity and resilience, and again, describe the future in more detail, where right now I think our vision may be a little generic. So the 3 straw men options, option A, a carbon-free tomorrow where every home and business thrives. through clean energy that's accessible, affordable, and supports resilient communities. Option B, a future where clean energy powers prosperity and resilience in every community so that everyone has the opportunity to thrive. And option C, a resilient, carbon-free future where clean, affordable energy helps every neighborhood thrive. And so right now we're in the briefings feedback area. So we definitely would love to hear from each and every one of you. To get your input, we'll go back and refine. And that input will be available via this form, which I will send to you all in email as this discussion progresses. And yeah, if there are any questions or anything that I'm missing, Lester Shalini? Okay, thank you. Sending those.
Only to
things.
say, the polling, the feedback, it's not a vote like everybody's deciding, it is input,
Yes.
which will lead to further decision-making and so forth. Thank you for winging it, Nellie.
Yep, happy to.
So we're not gonna walk through everything in the materials you gave, but we did want to emphasize here a little bit. We wanted to walk through the executive committee and invite quick feedback on the new stuff, the stuff you really haven't seen, and that's what we're emphasizing. So I had mentioned these guiding principles. They were missing from the work we were done. If you're gonna have a really complete strategic plan, it just felt like it was a level of overall intention of the organization and focus for the organization that wasn't here. So working with staff, we developed 4 guiding principles for the organization. The first being environmental impact. So that is something you are about. You were founded around that, you're committed to that. And you see lots of words up there that, continue to describe what does your intention around environmental impact look like, and how are you making day-to-day decisions in order to carry out these things. The second is customer-centric approach. You just heard Nellie refer to that around the mission. We talked about that a lot as your value proposition and your differentiator going forward. It's really important to build this in because of that. It is a differentiator. It is something that is top of mind. I will, in 5 years, and thinking about working with this organization, I will walk out with the memory of somebody, a board member saying, it might have been Rick, but somebody saying, the thing for this organization is that it's not just that we partner with our community, but that we are partners with our community who want to do something to improve the environment. Like that idea of being community centric and customer centric is so important because you're partnering together to change the world. And it's a really powerful idea. So you need to develop that. Economic development, that is something we didn't talk about so much last fall, but it is important to the organization. So you do your work partly by making investments in the local community in a way that drive the local economy in positive ways. Oops, sorry. And also driving innovation, which has been core to the organization from the beginning. A lot of this, another thing that just always sticks with me is you're not huge in the industry, but you're big enough that there are some things you can invest in and drive that help to change the market. But how do you continue to push boundaries? So any question on those or input into those 4 guiding principles? Yeah.
So on the green blocks, strategic policy,
Yes.
you have verbiage underneath each. And then when we get in the staff report, we have the guiding principles. I really liked where you went through the guiding principles with environmental impact, customer centric. I personally would put those on the green blocks. I think they convey more directly the message of what we're doing. Because the green blocks, the third one, additional priority areas of work is so nebulous, it doesn't say anything to me. Whereas economic development or economic value is something tangible.
Yeah. So, a couple things. First, additional priority areas of work is being changed. It's no longer gonna say that. It's gonna
Good.
say, it's gonna say DERs.
Oh, good.
So it's,
Love it.
where that edit is underway
Good.
and that helps. The idea is that the guiding principles are broader, meaning in everything we do, we consider these things. And then these 4 strategic policies, they speak to certain areas where you are adopting a policy that gives more direct guidance to staff on how to move forward. If that makes sense. So for example, on customer centricity, you don't need to give immediate specific guidance to staff. You are saying at the end of this process, you will be saying, we want you to always be thinking in all the decisions you're making, how is this decision being done and implemented and taken into account, partnering with our customers?
Okay, so one other, I want to go up to the
Yeah.
blue block
Yes.
above. Incubator for state, that also just, to me, is.
And that really should be driving innovation.
Did I
Right?
miss that one? I have
It's
to go
just,
back.
it's just phrasing, but it's a good call out,
Yeah.
Colleen, that where you see that, Lester, is in your structure.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
says
it should just say
innovation.
driving innovation.
Oh, I see. That's what you're saying.
You
Okay.
just need to be consistent.
Oh, right. Oh, right. Oh, yeah, that's just a miss.
But Colleen will
I'm
catch
conf-
it. It's amazing.
That's a good, that's a good
It's
catch.
no, I think it's amazing.
Yeah, the graphic needs to be updated.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I'm confused. Do you want comments on these? Because I've got a lot of comments, as you know, I've given them all to you.
Yeah.
But there's no possible way we can discuss them in 20 minutes.
I defer to the vice chair and the E CEO.
So yes, we did discuss your comments and there was a full discussion on it. I think at this opportunity for those that haven't commented yet, that would be the good time to put that input and then this all comes back. This is earlier in the process, if I'm correct. So
So is this, at this point, so that's what I'm trying to understand. At this point, is this conversation basically staying between the ad hoc committee and the executive committee and staff? It's not going to the board yet. Is that
No,
right?
it's going to the board in May for further discussion, but not for adoption.
Okay.
so more input is available.
So if you have more comments than what you've already provided, because we did talk about that at
No, I
ad hoc,
have-
send them in.
Any more than I could.
Yeah, send them in.
So you'd rather, yeah,
Yeah, we've got 3 other big
Yeah.
things today.
Betsy,
So, or do you want, how would you like, I just have a brief comment about equity, and I'm not sure if we're there yet, or if you're going
we're
to,
gonna get there.
why don't you do it when we get there?
perfect.
Yeah, thanks. And just for what it's worth, yeah, just to emphasize what Marty just said, Rick, we did raise several of the points that you discussed and shared with the ad hoc, so they did become part of that conversation.
Okay.
Director Mackin, are you, you need any other time right now? Okay. So I know it's coming. I know it's coming. Thank you for it. It's great.
Yeah.
But as we go forward, I'm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thanks,
And,
Mark.
and I'm
Welcome.
really happy to receive written comments after this on anything you read. You can always send them to me, Shalini and Nellie and Sean, any of us or all of us.
Yep.
And we'll share with each other.
The whole point of bringing this to the board for discussion in May is that we have all of April and the beginning of May to take in your comments from this venue and then the ad hoc committee.
Is there going to be another ad hoc committee meeting before it goes to the board?
Not planned right now, but we can if you would like.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what I'm intuiting is that the ad hoc committee might like to see what the edits are
Yeah.
before it goes to the board. Is that fair?
yeah,
I think that's a great idea.
And we can definitely, that's easy to do.
great.
You know, Lester and his yellow highlighting. There's all the new stuff.
All right, onward.
Okay. So the strategic priorities, again, I'm not gonna go through each of these. They're not in the order here that they're listed, but I wanted to show this one first, operational excellence. This one is the added one. So we did not discuss this last fall, but again, in thinking about staff, kind of speaking to all of staff and all of what PCE does. we felt like there was a need to really flesh out a little bit of directive around operational excellence. And the ways that you're gonna move forward in the next 5 years, and the direction to staff on how to move forward. So we added this. So this is all new language here. And again, I'm not gonna read all of this, but it touches on all of those operational activities. And at core, operations need to be excellent in order to advance your mission. And that's the thing I think is so important. You don't prioritize things in operations just because it's nice to do or good to do. You emphasize the investments and the staffing and the capacity where that most drives your mission impact. On procurement, actually, Shalini, did you
That
wanna?
addressed equity, right? Do you want to take Betsy's comment?
There's equity in programs and equity in operations.
Yeah, it's in a
Equity in
couple
programs.
places. Okay, we're gonna get there then. Shalini, did you want, this is kind of owned primarily by Shalini. Did you want to add anything?
No, I think Nelly and me have been sort of co-owning it, as
Yeah.
it were, but this is really just to get, PCE is 8.5-ish years old at this point, and really it's about, we've been talking about PCE 2.0 for a long time, about getting from sort of a startup to maturity. And it turns out with the additional staff, with the additional operations, with the new programs and with the new funding, we just need to keep improving those systems. Even the improvements become outdated because the situation is changing so fast, not only in the industry, but with regulation, legislation, and obviously the federal environment. So it's a continued focus on maintaining efficient and excellent operations.
You're no longer a startup.
Exactly.
That might be the shorthand
That
for
ship
this one.
sailed a while ago.
That happened a long time ago. And then procurement, we've been through this quite a bit. There's really very little change in here. The fourth bullet was somewhat rewritten. But besides that, this is the same that you saw in January. Roy, I know you're on virtually. I don't know if you wanted to say anything further. Just calling you out.
Yes, I'll just say that we plan to do a lot more work on this in the coming months. It is probably reasonable to expect a new statement to be proposed and recommended by staff here to replace this one. Yeah, more to come. I think that there's a lot of work on the planning front on procurement this year, including an update to the strategic IRP. And also in preparation for the CPUC required integrated resource planning that's due in October and November this year. So all of that will be prepared, and as we prepare these documents, staff will come up with a sort of a revised, updated statement for policy or for this procurement policy statement. So I'll just leave it at that. I think there are a couple of steps in the next couple months that we plan to do and engage with the board on procurement planning activities.
The other thing, Roy, I'll just say really quick is, it's just become really clear, especially in this policy, that we're gonna have to run it through a lens of our current administration. And what that means, we have no crystal ball, but we're already seeing the effects of what's going on. And so there's sort of another pass here. So we can say more about that later, but that's part of the discussion as well.
That's correct, yes.
Right. Good. And then the next one, programs and equity. This one is, the 4 bullets are pretty much completely rewritten, but maintaining most of the same content. So the rewrite was really a tightening and a clarifying, and just kind of a cleaning it up primarily. And I do see Raphael is on virtually. Raphael, I don't know if you want to add anything to this.
Thank you, Lester. As you said, the core here was to explain that more clearly the role of equity within programs. So the language changes were aimed at that.
Yeah, it's a specific question this was set to answer. You had a comment.
I had a comment.
Thank you
And
for
that-
waiting.
Sure, absolutely. I like what it says. I would like to see the engaging equity customers put at the very beginning. One of the issues, just so we are engaging with the customers and coming up with the programs rather than we are telling people these programs will be good for you. I think we're doing the same thing, but just putting the upfront that we're engaging with the customers and not just saying, this is what you need.
Okay.
Thank you for that point. I think especially with equity communities, that's very
That's-
sensitive.
It's a huge sensitivity.
Great, thank you. Any other quick comments on this? Moving on. We've already, what's coming next around this, I think we've already talked about, we've already talked with the ad hoc committee. We will circulate the revisions to the ad hoc committee. That's all good. We're bringing this to you today, and invite any written or feedback, or even if it's easier for you, send me a note and I'm happy to get on the phone for 5 or 10 minutes if that's an easier way for you to engage. I'm meeting with the CAC Strategic Planning Subcommittee. I think it's next week. I'm sure it's next week. And then we'll work all that feedback in and bring a next version back to the board for discussion in May, but no decisions until October. So we're driving to October. I know we already said all that.
Does you have a question?
Yes.
Are we gonna incorporate any of the board feedback? There's a number of revisions that we're talking about, and that goes to the CAC so that they get the latest revision, so it's not.
For any, you mean for next week for the,
Well,
this
yeah,
one up
whatever,
here?
whatever you can, because there's, let's just say it, this is a big deal.
Yeah,
Right, and so the longer we're waiting to get this feedback, I mean, I think it'd be,
yeah,
when you're sitting through this and you're hearing, well, they're working on it and that'll be changed, and it's like, okay, well, then I gotta wait for that
Yeah.
change. So the sooner that we could go ahead and kind of make these
Agreed.
revisions, then it's being directed by the board.
yeah.
And then we're getting some advice from the committee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we did was to send to the CAC Strategic Planning Subcommittee the same materials you
Got it.
got for today. Informally, when I meet with them next week, I'm going to be working with a marked up version of the
Got it.
document.
Good. That's
So
great.
they are going to see what the
The red
previous
line.
conversations were, and I will talk those through with them so that they see
Okay.
the
Right,
conversation.
that'd be helpful.
Okay, and my email is not up there, but I thought it was, maybe Nellie can send it out to make sure everybody has it, or again, you can send to Nellie, Shalini, Sean, who have been deeply involved along with many, many staff. And they'll share any feedback you have. So, can we just on top?
All right. Item 5, or actually, any other comment from anyone? Just the last call? Okay,
And actually, I should add, thank you to the members of the ad hoc committee who have been meeting on this and spent time, and I am always surprised at how thoughtful you all are and how well you understand what you're doing on this. So I know that may sound odd, but I'm always really impressed and appreciative of that. So thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Lester, for coming.
All right. Item 5, recommend to the Board of Directors
Can we have a clicker back? Thank you. I'll help you out
the
here.
approval of the draft program plan for the California Public Utilities Commission Flex Market Program. It's an action item.
Raphael, are you taking this or is this Shelby?
This is Shelby, and she's coming on.
This will be me. Hello, everyone. My name is Shelby Bush. I am on the programs team as the Energy Efficiency Programs Manager under Rafael Reyes. I started here back in December, so it's nice to meet you if I haven't met you yet. I'm looking forward to getting to know you better in person when I have an opportunity to. Today, I'm going to talk about the CPUC Flex Market Plan recommendation. So this, some of you may remember, I think it was back in August, I'm told, of last year,
Yana brought a discussion to the board, and we actually mentioned it earlier today about revenue diversification. So specifically seeking out other funding sources to support our programs efforts beyond just our generation revenues. So this program plan and this opportunity is part of that strategy. Go to the next slide, please.
Want me to do it?
Actually, I was just looking and just wondering, did we take public comment on that last one?
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. Thanks. Sorry for the interruption.
Right. Yeah, so today we're looking for support from the executive committee. We're taking this to the board next week. So we're looking for a recommendation to the board of directors to approve the program plan for this California Public Utilities Commission funded Flex Market program. Next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. So just a quick overview of what Flex Market is. This is actually a continuation opportunity from a program that we've been running since 2022. It is a multi-technology load shaping program. So load shaping, increasing, decreasing, or smoothing out demand to better match supply or system needs. It's a paid for performance based program, and it's based on metered results utilizing the AMI data infrastructure from utility meters. This program must also meet CPUC cost effectiveness metrics, which is very important, a part of program design. And I want to emphasize here that all program expenses will be reimbursed by the CPUC. Oh, I do have slide control. Okay. So they must be, they will all be reimbursed by the CPUC. And we wanted to mention also that other CCAs have run similar programs or are currently running similar programs. This program design actually prompted the market access decision a couple of years ago. So every utility company and program administrator across the state right now has to run a market access program. So there's several programs that are very similar, and some of our CCA colleagues have run similar programs as well. Our objective with this program is we want to be able to offer an energy efficiency program to our commercial customer segment. Currently, this is our only energy efficiency program offering. So we want to continue that. We want to align load with grid needs. That load shaping piece is part of our strategy. So this is a step in that direction. And then also the second round, we want to improve our implementation utilizing our round one funding learnings.
A question.
Sure.
So on the first bullet point under objectives, is this a program targeted at commercial customers, so it excludes residential customers?
Just gonna talk about that in a minute.
Well, it's relevant
So-
here because this says just commercial.
Yeah, I can touch on that right now. It is a primarily commercial offering. Right now, our round one did offer it to residential, and we did have a few residential programs. We are looking for ways to continue those residential projects. However, they bullet number 4 there in the overview, or I'm sorry, number 3, the must meet CPUC cost effectiveness metrics. Residential projects in this program make that a little bit challenging for us. So we're still looking to add those in if we can. It's kind of in flux at this very moment. But does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I want to just explain, utilizing a visual, what this Flex Market architecture looks like. So essentially, we PCE create a price register. So simply put, we take an hourly price and we assigned that an hourly price is assigned to measured behind the meter energy load reductions. So in other words, in this program, incentives are paid based on when the energy savings occur, with compensation tied to the time of day those reductions are achieved. So if you can imagine a price assigned to every single hour of the year, any load reduction that happens during that hour, that price would be applied to that energy load reduction. And we aggregate those up over time, over a year, and we pay out incentives to folks. And we provide this price register to energy services firms like the below. These services firms, in the flex market, we typically refer to these as aggregators. So if you hear me say aggregators, I'm talking about these folks right here. Then those aggregators go and they offer programs to customers. This program, flex market program, is business model agnostic. So they have flexibility to offer whatever measures they would like that do reduce load. With the incentive, you know, however they work those out with the customer, we don't prescribe any business model. We are just aggregating energy savings. How we measure those savings is we get that AMI data from PG&E, and we leverage our relationship with our data services provider, Calpine. So we get their AMI data. And Calpine has a partner called Recurve. They provide that AMI data to Recurve, and Recurve does the analysis of the energy savings utilizing this AMI data infrastructure. So this is the interval data that comes from the utility meters. They measure that reduction, they assign those price signals from the register, and then the incentives are paid out to the aggregators. Do we have any questions on this one? Wonderful. Okay. So I just wanted to touch on a few successes and lessons from our first round of this program. We had 11 commercial customers served, and resulting in 1.24 million kilowatt hours saved. That's the forecasted numbers. However, utilizing that AMI data and looking at actual energy savings, our measured savings are exceeding those forecasts by 30%. So really great performance. Just to give you an idea, normal, these are called realization rates, you know, what the actual savings are versus what was forecasted. Many programs are usually under 100%. So it's fantastic that we're over 100% here. And 130% is just phenomenal. We're also seeing about a 10% peak reduction at sites that are enrolled in the Flex Market program. So very grid constrained times, we're seeing a verified peak reduction at these sites. Some lessons learned. We've learned a lot from the first round. I know that I'm relatively new here. I didn't say this in my introduction, but I come from Recurve, who was on the last slide. So I have been running Flex Market programs for several years up to this point. And so I'm taking a lot of those learnings as well as learnings from PCE's specific implementation. One of those being balancing our price signal with cost effectiveness. When we run a CPUC program, we must be cost effective. We need to be good stewards of public purpose funds. And, you know, we have to balance getting a price signal high enough so that aggregators want to participate, but still maintain cost effectiveness so that we can continue to be good stewards of those funds. We also learned about implementing partners and maybe how we can move around some of our operations within the implementation so that we can be the most efficient and effective. And we're going to be making those changes moving forward into this new round. As well as CPUC requirements. With CPUC funds comes lots of regulation and oversight. We learned a lot about reporting. We're still learning about reporting, and we're bringing on some help to move in, some contracted help to help us with reporting in this next round to make sure that we can be compliant as best as possible. All right, a little bit of background here, just to get you oriented to where we've been and where we're at. So the PC Flex Market is fully funded, and I want to emphasize this, it's fully funded by the CPUC. The first round, the board approved the Flex Market back in November of 2021. And we have operated that Flex Market since 2022. Our current funding cycle ends next month, May 2025. So this program plan would be to renew the Flex Market program with slight iterations based off of our learnings that we discussed. And in this funding cycle, we're looking to seek $2.9 million from the CPUC to run the Flex Market from 2025 to 2028. This program in 2028, it's rolling into a greater strategy for us. We will be coming back to the board later this year to talk about another opportunity with the CPUC for expanded budget and expanded program opportunities. So look forward to that. But this program is definitely step one in making sure that we can run a good CPUC program and potentially get some more funding in 2028 when this program would just roll right into that 2028 future programs. And so the reason why we're here, obviously we want to keep everyone informed, but the CPUC does require that the board does approve our program plan, make sure we're all aligned and approved. And then so just quickly, I know I'm running through this quickly, I'm trying to get us through so we can get to the other things. We just have a few next steps here. The time frame that we're looking at is after hopefully this executive committee recommends the approval of the Flex Market program plan, we will bring this to the board next week and get approval there. Then we will submit the program plan to the CPUC early May. In summer of 2025, we'll work on those contract refinements with our implementing partners, get us all set up for this next cycle. We expect that we will get approval latest by the end of Q3 of 2025 from the CPUC, again for that $2.9 million. And then in fall of 2025, we will re-engage our providers, our aggregators, and relaunch the program, and then we'll be rolling. Does anyone have any questions?
We have a question here, Shelby, Director Mackin, please.
Thank you. And thank you, Shelby, for the presentation. In our staff report, it mentions in the second phase that you'll be exploring opportunities to extend participation to, I'm quoting, targeted residential customer segments. Could you tell us what that means and what you're considering?
Sure. So within the Recurve, our implementing our measurement and verification partner through Calpine, Recurve has a targeting dashboard. So we can actually target specific residential customers that could benefit from they have the highest potential for opportunity here, so that maybe we can target specific customers that can be cost effective for us to implement some projects at, because like I said, majority of the residential projects they aren't cost effective under the CPUC guidelines in this program design.
Can I follow up on that?
Absolutely.
I think that's the right question, and I don't understand what the CPUC cost effectiveness guidelines are and the way that they adversely impact the ability to offer this to residential customers.
Sure.
Because certainly in our county, there are residential customers that could reduce their power use, and it could be significant. We've obviously been very successful with this program with commercial customers, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like we're not really promoting it with residential customers because of some PUC rule.
That is correct. So I don't know if Raphael or Shelby wants to take that.
I can take a stab at it. The cost effectiveness equation, it's called the total resource cost test. And there's been lots of conversation about the CRC test over the years and whether or not it accurately reflects whether or not we're utilizing our public purpose funds appropriately. But essentially, it's a ratio of the costs and the benefits. So benefits being like grid benefit, and the costs in the equation that really make it hard for residential to be cost effective is that in the costs part of the equation, it takes into account the participant's cost. So what the customer, our resident, is paying for, let's say a heat pump. Let's say a heat pump is $10,000. In this program design, that cost of the full $10,000 plus any other program implementation costs like staffing costs, our contracting costs for recurve, all of those costs go into that benefit or into that cost part of the equation. And what we find is that that participant cost really drags down the TRC because there's only so much benefit. And because the equipment is so expensive for residential customers for the relative benefit, it just makes it really hard in this program design model for Resi to be cost effective. And generally in energy efficiency portfolios, if you go on, go on the public reporting website called CEDARS, residential programs are really hard to make cost effective, and how IOUs like PG&E run residential programs is they prop them up by their whole entire portfolio and their commercial offerings. Because we have one program, it makes it a little, with that CPUC funded, it just makes it a little challenging. I see Raphael came off, so maybe he wants to add something.
Yeah, so the way to think about this is just a scaling benefit that you get with commercial projects. So you get, more equipment, more, with the same amount of project management, more or less, that you do for a small residential project, you just get more scale. And as a consequence, you get more efficiency for the investment. And that means that in general, commercial projects are substantially more cost effective under these metrics than residential projects.
So is this principally appliance replacement where which it sounds like the example of the cost for resident and inability to scale may relate to the cost of the appliances, like a heat pump that they have to bring in, versus just being encouraged from a program to turn off their power when at certain times.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Behavioral residential programs, just as you're mentioning, in some sort of program that encourages people to reduce their usage at a certain time, those programs for residential customers are more cost effective. It is that participant cost and that customer acquisition cost and the program implementation costs in Resi that makes it a little challenging in this program design.
We have another question, Director Mackin.
Thank you. So would it be safe to assume that the applicability might benefit multifamily property owners versus single family homes?
Yeah, we've seen some multifamily in the flex market, mostly on the common area meters, not necessarily the units. Typically multifamily units, their usage is fairly small. So there's, a 15% reduction in usage. Just it's not, it just doesn't show up very well in the meter based results.
And I'll just add for quick context before we move on. When this program was conceived, I was actually working at Calpine at the time. And it really has always been focused on trying to penetrate the commercial market, small and medium size, with this idea that, hey, if it works for commercial, maybe it can have some application in the residential sector. I think what we're learning is it's tougher. because you're just not able to meet the kind of scale that's required to meet the CPUC mandated thresholds. This is not us dictating, right? And so what we're, and PCE for its part needed commercial programs. This is an area that's been something that we've needed to grow over time. So because the flex market is something that is reimbursed to us entirely, it frankly has been a learning, no doubt. But we think also worthwhile because it's not coming out of ratepayer funding.
Yes, go ahead.
So Sean, with what you said with DERs, if you have a segment of a city as part of a DER, wouldn't that be applicable perhaps?
Potentially,
No.
No, under this program, you can't do DERs. You have to
Oh,
do
you
energy
can't.
efficiency
Okay.
measures.
Thank you. Good clarification.
Distribute as resources you can.
Right.
We're gonna get to that other next.
Yes.
Okay,
Any last questions? Any opportunity for the public? No public available? Okay,
Hold on.
sorry.
We do have a hand raised.
Oh, okay.
can't see that.
Let's go ahead.
Eduardo?
Unmuted, yes. Hi, sorry, very, very quick. Thanks for the presentation. I'm a residential, right? So same questions that have been asked. I was tracking some of the bills on the legislature. I see that there are several bills on code management. I haven't looked at them in detail. Are any of those bills that seem to be telling the CPUC to behave differently going to help in something like this in the future?
Yeah, go ahead,
The
Sean.
load management bills primarily focus on rates. So that's not necessarily what's at stake and or what's at issue with this program, which is more about conservation and a reimbursement as opposed to a rate design. So those bills don't affect this program.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sean.
All right. Any other comments? Happy to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Regolia and Fung. Awesome. Roll call vote?
Atherton?
Yes.
Brisbane?
Yes.
Burlingame? You're muted.
Yep, yes.
Menlo Park?
Yes.
Millbrae?
Yes.
San Bruno?
Yes,
Motion carries.
fantastic. Item 6, distributed energy resources framework 2025 through 2030 discussion item. Director Reyes.
Thank you. Very pleased to be here virtually. Apologies, I can't be there in person as I'm on the East Coast at the moment. But I will be tag teaming with Jana and Peter on this presentation. First, just providing a concise overview of programs. Most directors here are familiar with what I'm going to cover, so I will move quickly through that to get to the substance. If we go to the next slide, please. What the team here will be covering for you directors, again, will be a brief overview of programs and how it leads into the question of DERs and how we're thinking about them. Directors may recall that in 2023, we did come to the board or the executive committee with part 1 of our DER plan, and this is really part 2, or what we're now calling a DER framework, meant to fill out our overall strategy with regards to decarbonization and the role of distributed energy resources. And some of you may recall that in the strategic plan that we just spoke to earlier with our consultant Lester and his team, distributed energy resources were also called out as a key area of focus looking at the next 5 years. So first, our overall strategy, as you may recall, has 3 major components: supporting individual decisions and moving to clean energy, shaping policy through activities such as REACH codes locally, but also informing state policy, and then, of course, driving innovation, and that's primarily in both technology and methods, and of course, how we use energy and associated data. We've made some minor refinements to the language in terms of where these three tactics, if you will, lead to. So we want to demonstrate scalable methods, but ultimately also with the intent of building sustainable business models that not only we can adopt, but others can adopt to mobilize market forces in support of decarbonization. And DERs are an especially critical component to the business models question, as we'll discuss later. Now, in 2022, at the direction of the board, PCE staff developed an extensive decarbonization analysis and plan. As part of that, the board approved a specific scope for the focus of our programs in transportation and buildings, and the market segments that we're targeting for decarbonization comprise approximately 2/3 of the emissions sources in our service territory. More specifically, if we look at transportation, we're targeting private passenger vehicles and small fleets. And then in buildings, primarily single-family residential, but also growing into office. And then, as Shelby noted, we are starting to expand with Flex Market into commercial segments, and through the work that Yana is doing to bring more CPUC funds to PCE, we will likely be expanding on some of these market segments as well. But these are our current primary segments that we're targeting for decarbonization. Many of you have seen our programs, Donut. This is just a refresher on that. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we have three major segments that we pursue. Of course, buildings, transportation, distributed resources. And in these areas, PCE, since inception, has invested approximately $60 million, both in incentives and in what we call capital investments, which are our financing programs such as on-bill finance or GovPV PPAs. And we're already starting to see statewide impact in a number of areas. Our REACH code effort, along with in partnership with Silicon Valley and local governments throughout our territories, has really been the pace setter for the state. And many of those concepts on policies have been now incorporated into the 2025 state code. Through our right-sizing efforts, we're seeing substantial interest in cost effectiveness for EV charging and also building electrification and our various other innovation measures that we've been taking. Now, one important call out, which is important in the context of distributed energy resources, is that different solutions are in different phases of market adoption. So in this diagram, the blue line represents populations adopting technologies, and the yellow line is penetration into the market. So ultimately, we want to get to 100%. But if we look at solar, for example, it's the most mature in the market, with EVs coming up quickly, and buildings really at day one in market adoption. Now, as a consequence of the process of market adoption and the specifics of the technologies and market segments, the specific needs in each area vary. So it's not one size fits all for a given solution. But in general, for Peninsula Clean Energy, we've adopted the posture that solar and storage need to be supported, but not with incentives. So we apply financing, technical assistance, but we don't apply incentives in this area. For electric vehicles and e-bikes, our focus is primarily equity benefits. And then buildings and EV charging, frankly, need the most support. So this is where much of our incentive dollars is targeted. And we essentially have 5 major programs and then a number of smaller programs. So reach codes, residential electrification, and EV charging, all are programs that are significant, with emissions reductions being the primary objective out of these programs, and equity being material for both residential electrification and EV charging. On the other hand, on our solar and storage programs, while they have some emissions benefits, the primary objectives in these programs are affordability, resilience, and grid services. Now, over time, we will be looking to integrate our solar and storage work with our electrification work. And again, this will come out in the DER plan. Now, we have a number of strategic challenges. I won't go through all of these in a lot of detail, but as everyone is well aware, high utility rates is creating an affordability crisis. At the same time, we have new rules coming down from the Air District with regards to gas appliances. We do see also issues in terms of access to capital, and then recurring periodic issues around power outages. And in all of these cases, distributed energy resources are a key part of the solution. So Peter and Jana will go through these in detail, but when we talk about distributed resources, we're talking about energy assets on the distribution grid, and they have the substantial opportunity or the opportunity to create substantial economic value. And through that value, it helps us address all of the strategic challenges that I referenced in the prior slide. So again, what we're about to step into here is essentially part 2 of what was previously presented to the Executive Committee in October 2023. And I'm happy at this point to turn the baton over to Jana and Peter.
Thank you, Rafael. Hi, everybody. I've met all of you, I believe, but just in case, Jana Kopyczak-Lande. I'm Associate Director of Innovation Strategy here at PCE. I've been working closely with Peter on developing our DER plan or framework for 2025 through 2030. We're going to talk through that a little bit right now. So now I have to see if I can I control this now? There you go. Is this me? So as part of our strategic plan that Lester just introduced, we had discussed about new lines of business that we wanted to grow at PCE over the next 5 years. And we had discussed various different options, but DERs really emerged as one of the areas that we want to focus more on in the future. We've already started a lot of DER work, but in the strategic plan discussion, it became clear that DER is a continued and increased focus over the next 5 years. I'm not going to read all of this, but we basically just decided that we want to accelerate the development of carbon-free DERs, and staff is supposed to come up with a plan of how to make that happen. And that's what we're here to present today. Do not know why I can't
Can I
play.
just make one comment?
Yeah, please.
In that language around the policy, I support everything there, but it doesn't include cost reduction, and part of the DER strategy absolutely is to reduce costs.
Yes.
So somewhere that needs to be included. And I noticed in Raphael's slides, on his second slide, it also focused on decarbonization, but not cost reduction. I think it's consistent with everything else that was said. We just need to add that language in there because it's a priority.
Yeah. It's a really good point, and we're stating it as one of the benefits of DERs, but it maybe needs to be reflected in that strategic policy. Nelly, can you help me where I can't click?
You can. You just have to give it a second.
Oh, it just takes a second. Okay. All right. Just really quickly, the core point of this presentation today is to talk about the goals. So future-looking goals for the next 5 years. But before we go there, we wanted to just do a little bit of level setting on what DERs are, because we're using a bit of an updated definition of distributed energy resources. And just make sure that we understand 2 core concepts of a distinction of what is a front of the meter DER versus a behind the meter DER. So let's talk about definitions for just a minute. The general definition for a DER is that they are assets on the distribution grid. So either on the customer side of the energy meter, is called behind the meter, or in front of the customer meter, and then they're connected to the distribution grid. And then they're called front of the meter DERs. It's important to note, you've probably all seen this, but on the left, we're generating our electricity, then it's getting transmitted via large transmission lines to a substation, and from the substation to the customer is what we call the distribution grid. And so if a resource is connected to the distribution grid, so anything that's in blue there, then that is called a front of the meter DER. It feeds electricity directly into the distribution grid, and then it's going to be spread through the distribution grid to the customers. That's called a front of the meter DER, versus a behind the meter DER, where the project or the resource is actually located on the customer site. Just quickly think of solar and storage. If you install a Tesla Powerwall and a solar system at your site, what happens first is you're offsetting your load at your site. And only when you don't have load at the site, you will export back to the grid. That's a behind the meter DER. A front of the meter DER is much larger. It's like usually 1 to 10 megawatts in size, around 5 megawatts. It feeds electricity directly into the grid without offsetting any customer load and gets dispersed via the grid to customers. An example is our community solar project that we have under the DAC Green Tariff Program, the Dos Palos project, if you're aware of that one. So what we then, virtual power plants is a concept we're going to talk about a lot in our goals. So just to introduce that concept for a second, if you have the behind the meter, I'm just talking about behind the meter DERs. If you have your behind the meter DERs that are located at a customer site, it can be both residential customers and non-residential customers. You can aggregate those, and under what's called a virtual power plant or VPP, you will have a DERMS platform, which we're going to talk about in a second, to control those resources, and you can make them kind of be dispatched in a way that they benefit the load serving entity, the customer, and the grid. We're going to talk about that in a second. But just the concept of VPP, the one thing to retain is that a VPP is for behind the meter resources.
Okay, great. So we're going to talk about, prior to getting into our goals, we're going to talk about kind of like the why behind why we're looking to adopt DERs and drive their deployment. I've met, I think, all of you already, but just as a recap, my name's Peter Levitt. I'm our Senior Manager of Distributed Energy Resources. I've been working on developing these kinds of programs for about 6 years at PCE, and I'm looking forward to the next 6 as well. So there are a number of benefits that come along with deploying DERs, both to the customer, to PCE, and to the grid. As Raphael has alluded to, and as Director DeGolia pointed out, one of the key points of deploying DERs is that they directly can save customers money, which helps with the affordability challenge of electrification. For some customers, electrification is a home run with respect to affordability. For some, it's closer to neutral. And so DERs can come in and make it a more compelling economic case. They can also help provide energy resilience. A lot of our customers face backup power challenges, especially in certain parts of our service area. So DERs can directly provide that benefit as well. But to PCE, the reason for this being a sustainable business model in the long run is that it can also complement our renewable energy and GHG targets. They can come in and be a supplementary resource to our power resources team and to our organization at large. They can help reduce our energy costs, reducing the need to purchase energy in expensive hours. They can directly provide resource adequacy. And then in a broader sense, they can help us to have a direct relationship with our customers, which is great. It helps us expand our brand and have a direct touch point in the way that Energy Programs is trying to achieve. For the grid and society, it provides a number of benefits. One of the most tangible ones, but that is very hard to capture presently, is that it can, especially for the front of meter DERs, is that we can directly offset the need for further investment into the distribution grid, which is one of the biggest reasons why rates are going up so high. Now, presently, this is kind of like an unproven area with respect to the value capture. We ourselves can't capture that value, but we hope to eventually with some policy reform. And then lastly, it can of course drive jobs.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Doesn't it also enable less investment in the transmission grid? I'm not sure my language is right, but isn't there a benefit to not having to build out the transmission grid to support centralized production versus when you're generating it in the distribution grid?
I think if you ask different folks, you'll get different responses to this question. But you know, theoretically, yes. But at the scale that we're looking at, there might or might not be benefits to the transmission grid, is how I'd frame it.
Okay.
And to add quickly, the utilities still continue to make the point that there always has to be backup power for DERs, like in case the DER doesn't function, so there has to be kind of a second option. So they're planning for that, and so
They have
often-
to have the transmission grid for
Exactly
that.
for that, exactly.
Okay.
So all these benefits are well and good. Oh, I'm sorry, please, Director Nash.
That comment actually confused me. How is what Rick is talking about different than the deferred distribution grid upgrade needs?
If you go back to thinking about that diagram that Yana was speaking to earlier with the transmission on the left and the distribution on the right. DERs, the front of meter DERs in particular, can defer the need to upgrade the distribution grid. Those smaller lines and wires that you see around neighborhoods, and what Director Bully was asking about is more the large transmission level.
And I'd say, think about those substations that we see in different areas. Those are taking generally lines from the transmission grid, which are big power lines, and putting them into those smaller distribution lines that we have along our neighborhood streets. And that they show that right there. That's the difference between the yellowish color and the blue color.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh, this was So all the benefits of DERs, it's all well and good. There are real challenges to deploying DERs at scale. So one of the biggest ones is just that you're asking a customer to do something. You're asking a person or a business to go through a new project. So there's an adoption barrier. There's also cost and capital considerations. So deploying DERs requires somebody to foot the bill. And whereas, with our power resources team and providing energy to our customers in that way, we're the ones that are financing that. There's value stack considerations here as well. DERs, the benefits that DERs can provide are not always able to be captured in terms of their value, which is mostly a policy issue that we want to work on. And then, as Raphael was alluding to with the technology curve chart that he was showing earlier, some of these technologies are farther along in terms of the maturity than others, especially with respect to the notion of virtual power plants. Those are sort of in a more nascent stage in terms of their technology curve. And then lastly, the actual project development of getting DERs deployed can come with its own challenges, like any project can come with its own project development challenges.
All right, so we're gonna jump into, well, what are we gonna do about all of this, and what are our plans over the next 5 years to drive forward DERs? These are our 7 goals that we've developed. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done. These are high-level goals that in the future we will then turn in our annual plans into objectives and key results. We're proposing just these as high-level goals right now with a few high-level targets that will then continue to be developed over the next 5 years through our annual plan. I'm not gonna read through all of them right now because we're gonna go one by one. So number 1,
Beautiful.
this is really nice, it's thick and simple, I've heard.
I think I see him going for a dip.
It is a tiny project. So our first goal is to grow PC's behind the meter local power portfolio by 15 megawatts of solar and 35 megawatts hour storage capacity by leveraging scalable and self-sustaining financing solutions. So there's a lot of there. As you all know, we already have our GovPV program that's really successful and continues to grow. We're gonna add 15 megawatts of solar under that and a new residential solar and storage program that we're planning on launching this year. And the goal is really to develop a self-sustaining approach, including third-party financing, to make this scalable and self-sustaining. So the core is here really a bit to develop a business model that can grow without much kind of fine incentive that needs to be provided by PCEs or customers. Mind I make a quick comment? Yes, please.
I want to just note that those numbers, 15 megawatts and 35 megawatt hours, are intentionally conservative. I hope that's okay to say. They're intentionally conservative to just make sure, given all the moving parts right now, that this is a number we can live with. Obviously, you know, perhaps as we get closer to the 5-year strategic plan, we'll bump that up, but intentionally conservative. Thank you.
And does that go beyond GovPV or is that all
It's
expansion
inclusive.
of GovPV?
It's inclusive of.
It's GovPV plus a new residential solar and
Oh,
storage
okay, I
program we're
see
going
that.
to
Okay,
launch.
great, great.
I'm hoping it's higher, but you know, we'll see.
Goal number 2, we are going to move towards a so-called whole home energy approach by integrating electrification, solar and storage, and EEV offerings under one program. I imagine that will happen first in our residential programs. As you know, we're currently offering, you know, residential programs for transportation, residential programs for building electrification. We have our new solar plus storage program, the solar battery savings program. It's been very successful. So we're kind of offering separate programs, and the goal is over the next 5 years to really integrate them under one program structure so we can have a more seamless offering for customers. We're already trying to do that now, but it is often challenging to kind of make the timing work between when you electrify, maybe install solar plus storage as well, so it helps you with the electrification financials. So there's a lot there that can be done, and I think we're just striving towards better integrating what we're already trying to do now. And again, this all aligns with our customer-centric approach too, where we're really thinking about how does this best work for customers and how do our customers best benefit and take advantage of our programs. Number 3, this has been a big effort. We're developing a virtual power plant that aggregates 10 megawatts of dispatchable capacity from customer-sited resources in our service area. So again, there's a lot of there. We've talked a little bit about what a virtual power plant is. It is an aggregation of behind the meter DERs, so customer-sited DERs. And if you put them all under what's called a distributed energy resource management system or DERMS platform, you can control these devices and then you can dispatch them in a manner that they benefit both the customer, PCE, and the grid. And we, as you all probably have heard, we ran an RFP in September of 2024 to hire a DERMS provider. And we are in contract negotiations right now and are planning to bring that contract to the board in May. So we're making good progress there. Again, just to talk a little bit about what the DERMS does and just to highlight, a lot of people talk about solar and storage, behind the meter solar and storage as a VPP. We want to be more expansive in our approach to VPPs. Solar and storage are our core first focus under the VPP. We have a lot of cool initiatives going on with solar plus storage. That is the backbone of our VPP first. But over the next 5 years, we want to grow that much larger. We want to incorporate technologies like heat pump water heaters that also have a load shift capability. We want to incorporate EVs. We want to incorporate smart control thermostats and also want to work with commercial customers because they have large loads, and with their building energy management systems, we can control those and shift load out of the peak times. So this is we have a pretty aggressive vision there, starting with solar plus storage, but expanding beyond that. This is the other side of DERs we were talking about. So right now, the DER, so far we've been talking mostly about behind the meter DERs and our first 3 goals. This 4th goal is focusing more on the front of the meter DERs. So often these front of the meter DERs, again, just a quick reminder, they're connected to the distribution system. So between the large centralized storage system that Roy works on and between like the small customer side of resources, there is this world of 5 megawatt community solar, projects and community microgrids that are often called the missing middle because they haven't really been addressed in California too much. And they're really hard to develop because they're quite expensive. If you wanted to place them in PCE service area, land is limited, land is expensive. And so making these projects pencil out financially is very challenging. And we are applying 2 core strategies over the next 5 years to try to foster the development of these resources. And that is one, accessing public funding. So the 2 examples here first highlighted the CRE program and the microgrid incentive programs are opportunities to get some additional funding for these resources to make them happen. But then almost equally as important, I think, is policy advocacy on these resources, because there's a lot of opportunities of how the value of these resources could be improved. But the PUC needs to change some rules and the CEC needs to change some rules, and we're working on that as well.
Is the only solution that we have that currently does this the Dos Palo?
Yeah, the only existing one that we have is Dos Palo. That's right.
But Rick, this I think is what you've been talking
Oh,
about for
yes,
years now.
absolutely.
So we're gonna call it the Rick
No,
and
no,
Lily.
Rick
Front of the-
Development
no,
Trust model.
Front of the meter
I mean,
strategy.
This is, long time ago, we contemplated a feed-in tariff program. We
Yeah.
never went there.
Yep,
But
MCE does a feed-in tariff model. It's a lot of money. It's expensive. Yes, so those are exactly the kinds of questions we want to investigate and explore over the next 5 years there. All right, and then just cruising, this is the last slide to the last 3. These are not less important, but they're just a little bit more high level at this point. So we are already working on, these sustainable financing models where PCE can own solar plus storage and then provide PPAs to local government entities. We want to start exploring how that concept could be transferred to other DERs away from solar and storage, but also maybe for EVs. That has some benefit on equitable rate setting. We can talk about that all a little bit more. We can talk about that for electrification equipment, but there's a lot of research we need to do, what's allowable there and what the challenges are there. So that's a TBD. Another thing that is being brought up to us often, it's not just access to financing or access to incentives, but it's often people don't know how to start and where to start. It's about technical assistance to make DERs really work. And so we've started to create concierge services for residential customers. If they don't know how to install DERs, they can call, and Gabby has been doing an amazing job. We want to grow that over the next 5 years and offer concierge services for other technologies as well. Right now it's focused on home electrification, but it could be solar and storage. It could be, EVs. We could grow those concierge services and then also potentially offer consulting services at fee-based or not, or free, depending maybe on kind of the need of commercial customers. And then the last one is, there's a lot of opportunity for policy advocacy in the role of DERs. That's been kind of my work at MCE over the last 5 years. There's a lot of work to do. It moves very slowly, but the concept is kind of twofold. One, reduce the barriers to DER deployment. There's a lot of barriers that the utilities and to an extent the CPUC established for not too many clear reasons. And then so reduce those hurdles. And then the second one is to access more value for DERs. There's a lot of potential value, like Peter mentioned, in terms of distribution, upgrade deferral value. And that's also limited. So hurdle reduction, accessing value is kind of our core point in policy advocacy.
Can I do just a quick sidebar here, because it's been mentioned a couple times. I think you all have heard us say over the course of the last year plus that we're looking at different financing models and what that will look like relative to whether it's GovPV or our DER strategy or any other strategies that we have. And that is no small matter. So Nick, I hope you don't mind, but did check in with Nick and it's on his 2025 goals to just look at what does it look like for PCE to actually take on that kind of debt? We are not an agency that has done that to date. And it's not just about GovPV, it's about all these other potential possibilities and what that might look like. So just so you know, we're working on it. Nick is working on it with Raphael and team. And before we do anything that affects any of these strategies, of course, we'll be coming back to you and the board with your findings. Okay, let you know that's happening in parallel.
Yeah, and maybe
Thank
just one sentence about future. So this is a STR framework, right now, high level. We are working kind of on an internal document of like specifying more of the details of how all these goals will really play out. And we'll continue to update you as the PCE strategic plan develops, into the summer and the fall. And then develop, specific objectives and key results on each year and always report back to the board.
Any other questions?
Nice job.
Yes, another everyone, come on.
Thank you very much. It's very exciting to hear about this and I think it's gonna go faster than we all think. Thank you. Well thought, both of you.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment? Not this time, okay, this is a discussion item. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Your work is excellent, really great.
Now,
Donna has something.
Donna, muted.
No, I'm good. I just want to say, I've had a number of people in Burlingame start asking me about a lot of this. I think they're asking because of the federal changes and sort of the undermining of clean energy at the federal level. So my question is, when we put this all together and we figure out how to do it, how do we communicate it out to the world? Is this Gwen's, going to be Gwen's? Because I think this is just really excellent.
That's a really good question. We had a few ideas. We haven't defined anything yet. So we have a Word document that's quote unquote a DR plan that we could further develop and kind of make it a public facing document. That's one option.
It's highly technical.
It's highly
Yeah,
technical.
I think I'm thinking less technical and more like,
Customer focused.
yeah, almost more like, like almost, kind of like an advertising sort of, more pictures and like, what is PCE doing for you? Yes, we deliver your energy. Yes, we deliver it clear, but but we're filling in the gaps, as federal policy changes, we're filling in the gaps. Or Sean, this could even be, something we reach out to like Sustainable San Mateo County and CECs around Menlo Spark and stuff, and we put something that's less technical but more bite-sized together to help get the word out through some of our existing partnerships. It's not that the customers, it's not that like everyone's going to jump in and do it, but I think people are wondering, and so this would be a great way to share the information.
And Donna, just to make sure that I understand, I'm sorry, Chair Colson.
Oh, no, Donna's fine.
Okay. And you're talking more about the plan itself and the goals, right? Because for every single program we run, of course, we have a customer outreach strategy.
Yeah. Yes.
You're talking more about like
High
letting them know
level.
what the goals are, high level. Yeah, I think we could definitely do something there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Last chance for any comments, questions?
I'll just say, I think this is great. This is really, really important. And it's really important both on the decarbonization and cost reduction levels. The thing, and I think you did a terrific job, John. And we've got to get the approach right, which I know you're totally focused on. And we've got to be patient because the next couple of years are going to be very difficult in terms of infrastructure costs, but it doesn't take away the need. And I think there's still going to be things we can accomplish, notwithstanding the infrastructure. We're going to have problems implementing infrastructure because it's going to get more and more expensive. I don't see this ending, at least not for 3 years. So I just think we have to be patient with that and get the analysis right and the outreach right so that we stay really connected to our customer base.
Yeah.
Just
following up on what you're saying, it seems to take so long to just get the word out and get people interested, so we could do that now so that we're ready to go once the market, the political situation changes.
Yeah, I agree.
One thing to say is that the DERMS platform will be coming to the board in May. And that really wraps around everything we do. That's sort of the critical infrastructure, right? That helps deploy all these great things. These goals that have been outlined, we're starting on it now, which is why you saw 2025 to 2030. It's really, that's going to be embedded in our strategic plan. And so I think what we're talking about is not approving this until we approve strategic plan, correct?
Yeah, we were
Because
not
this-
asking for any approval at this point.
Yeah,
It's more
this is really
informational.
awareness.
Yes.
Now we can shift strategy on that if you want to talk about it after, but that's sort of the timeline that we have. We're just getting a head start.
And if I can just add, when we do that, we'll be looking at additional personnel to do all this work, because this is a lot of work. I'm looking at you.
CDC actually brought up that same
I
question.
mean, I'm looking at, it's taken us a while.
Yeah.
You've only been here almost about a year, and it's like, if we had more staff to do these things, then we're gonna get more done. So I think.
Stay
just gonna-
tuned.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, all right. I wasn't advised of this earlier, I just thought it'd be good to talk about.
There's also just maybe one point to make on that. There's a lot of different teams involved in this. It's like everybody in the programs team, because it touches heat pump water heaters, it touches
Yes.
EVs, it touches storage. It's a lot of policy team influence, it's innovation strategy. Those are the three cores, but it's even account services. It's our CSAs. There's a lot of people are touching this DER plan.
Yeah.
But yes,
All right, just being aware of it.
Nick.
We have a budget meeting later today, so we'll get back to you.
Oh, we thought you were.
Does ask if Dawn has any announcements? Or anybody?
Chair Colson, do you have any last announcements?
Yes, the last thing I wanted to just comment on was, let's see, Sean, I'm gonna just see where I sent this off. Yeah, I just really quickly wanted to let everyone know that we're working, Marty and I have been working with, or Vice Chair Medina and I have been working on getting the new executive committee fully rounded out and the finance committee. Let's see, and I've got my list here. So I want to, she's maybe here listening. I don't know who's listening or not, but I want to welcome Leslie Ragsdale, who's going to join our executive committee once we approve these appointments next month. She's moving from finance to the executive committee. We have also had Lisa Gauchier accept a position on the executive committee, which will be nice to have continued representation from the Board of Supervisors. And Adam Lorraine, who has also agreed, he's going to have to participate a little more by Zoom, but I think his longstanding commitment and work on the strategic plan garners him the, we're all in agreement that his perspective is very valued and we're going to work to accommodate his schedule. On the finance committee, Elmer Martinez has agreed to take on one of the vacant seats. A young and emerging member of our community of elected officials, and we have one more seat to fill. We're working to reach out to Los Banos to see if they would be interested in filling that seat. And then if not, we have a couple of new additional people, but we hope to have all of this ready to go for approval at the April meeting. And then those people will join us starting in May.
Right.
Yeah, thank you all for, yeah.
Leslie, and listen over here, Nellie has my attention now, go ahead.
Just noting early congratulations because it needs board approval at the end of this month.
Yes.
But
Yes,
almost
early
there.
congratulations. We'll get, some people sat in today to hear the meetings, which we really are grateful for and appreciate, but I think this represents a very diverse geographic and age and longevity and tenure group of people with various experiences, and I think this will be a wonderful addition to our committees. So thanks to everyone for your patience while we make these changes.
Fantastic.
And thanks to everyone who's agreed to continue to work on the on these committees as well. It's no cup of tea always having to do all this extra work, and you get tapped for a lot of things. So I really, really appreciate it.
All right. Any other committee reports? Anybody? 1, 2, 3. All right, we are done.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You.